In life, you are going to experience an array of events, people, things, places that range from amazing to good to bad, even neutral, or just plain up terrible. And that really, I think, is what life is just a continuous timeline, a continuous stream of consciousness experiencing events that range from the best of the best to the worst of the worst. Now, a lot of people look at life like, I need to maximize my positive experiences. And to an extent, that's definitely true. You want to enjoy life. You want to meet the love of your life. You want to have great friends. You want to have a job that's fun. You want to go cool places, experience good things. You want to maximize your positivity while also, of course, minimizing the negative things in your life. You don't want to be around bad people. You don't want to be around disease, sickness, sadness. You want to try to minimize that as much as you can. But I think a lot of people miss part of it. Now, that's definitely true to an extent. But I think that there's another side to this. It's not just about maximizing your happiness, minimizing the amount of time you experience sadness. Because I've always had a theory that everything equals out to zero. Now, I don't want to get too much into this, but basically what that means is you are going to experience this huge array, these ups and downs. And when you take all these ups and downs and average them out, it goes to zero. It's neutral. So you had a good day, you had a bad day. Someone died, someone's born. At the end of the day, it all equals out to zero, right? All the good experiences you have and all the bad experiences you have, I think really end up equaling out to zero. And really, if you want to look at it like on a broad spectrum, life is equal to the negative equivalent of death, right? So it all equals out to zero in life. So whether that's true or not, you're clearly going to experience a lot of bad things in life. And today what I kind of want to talk about is having a positive outlook on those negative things. Now, yeah, we want to maximize all the happiness. We want to minimize all our sadness and things, but that's not really likely. That's not really going to happen in life, because life is crazy and you're going to experience some really awful things, and just you can't avoid that. Death is imminent for all of us, right? So what I want to talk about today is more about those negative things, but having a positive outlook on it. And I don't want to really talk about things on a big level like life and death. I kind of want to talk about this just in an everyday sort of way, right? Whether it's walking down the hall and something bad happens to you, or you get a bad grade on something, things like that really, really make up the bigger portion of our life. Because having a positive outlook on the bigger picture is one thing, being optimistic, but there's a huge amount of people out there that they just miss the everyday positivity in life and focus on the negativity. So I want to talk about just a situation. So you're walking down a hallway, work, school, maybe in a residence building at your university or whatever, and you say hi to a guy. You don't really know him. You see him once in a while, but you're just kind of trying to be friendly, just being a nice individual, and you just say hi. Now, the guy doesn't say hi back. There's two ways you can perceive this. There's two ways you can interpret his meaning. Number one is you can let your ego kind of control your thoughts here and say, that guy's a douchebag. I was being friendly to him and he didn't even say anything back to me. What a dick. I can't believe he'd do that. You can look at it like that. Or you can look at it as, that guy must be shy. He must have just been confused because we don't know each other and just was, wasn't expecting a hi there. Just was kind of baffled when I said hi and just didn't have time to really say hi back. Or, there's a million reasons why he could have said hi. Maybe he's just having a bad day. Anything, right? Anything. He might not have heard you. There's two ways you can look at it, as you can see. You can see this guy's a dick. I don't know why he said that. Or maybe there's a reasonable explanation why he didn't say hi. And that's what having a positive outlook in everyday life is all about. I'll see some people, they'll say hi to a guy, that situation, and they'll snap. And from now on, they think that that person is a douchebag. They don't like that person because, well, he thinks he's too good for me. Well, maybe, but honestly, I don't know. There's a potential that he does think he's too good for you. But you know what? At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because you don't know him. You don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy. All you know is what you saw, the reality you witnessed. Now, like I said, you don't know. You don't know. So what would you rather think? Would you rather think, oh, that guy's probably just having a bad day? Or would you rather just draw that negativity into your life by thinking, yeah, that guy's a douchebag? That's what it's all about. There's no point. There's no point in thinking that negative thought. That negative thought does zero for you, because life is all about being happy. That's really the point of life, is to enjoy it. And when you're focusing on some assumption that someone did something maliciously, that doesn't benefit you. Whether he did it or not, and you don't know, it doesn't benefit you. There's no point in thinking that way. It doesn't benefit you. There's no point. There's a great quote that says, "Do not assume malice when it can be explained through ignorance." Now that was probably poorly quoted, but basically it's just saying, don't assume bad when it can be attributed to ignorance, to someone not knowing, right? It's just an easy little change in thought that has a huge difference on your life. Because, like I said, it doesn't matter if he's a dick or not. If you think he was just having a bad day and you think the world is a good place, then to you the world is a good place, and that guy's not a dick, which makes you happier. And that's what it's all about, right? That, at the end of the day, is what it's all about. So in psychology, there is kind of this idea of sensation versus perception. And that's kind of what that situation is, or what a lot of situations in life you'll see is sensation is basically what your brain receives, right? So right now, okay, the sensation you're receiving is me talking. You're hearing audio, and if you're watching this random gameplay, you're watching, some game of zombies, right? So that's what your brain is sensing. You have 5 senses. That's what you're using basically to receive information. You do this, every waking hour, I guess, even kind of when you're sleeping and you're dreaming, right? Those are your senses, and that's what the information that you receive. It's what you are taking in. Perception, on the other hand, is how you take it in. It's basically what the brain receives versus how the brain receives it. So sensation is not subjective, right? Sensation, or I should say, it's not subjective. It is objective. Sensation is, there is a printer on this desk. You see this printer. Perception, on the other hand, is entirely subjective. It's how you personally see something. And that's what this whole idea is about. You can't change your sensations, right? You could try to, be in a more positive area of your life and around positive people. But at the end of the day, what you see is what you get. But you can change how you perceive it, right? It's going to happen regardless. But when you look at things with a positive outlook, it has a positive outlook. It's positive. And that little change in your life can make a huge difference. I kind of want to compare this to video games, because I know most people on here obviously watch my channel for the video games. So let's look at this in zombies, and this is going to be kind of a lame comparison, but I think it holds value, especially probably to you guys who can relate to this. So you're playing a game of zombies, all right, and you hit the mystery box. The mystery box is the great example here, because the mystery box is random, right? And it's kind of like life. It's random. You can get whatever you want. Now, let's say you hit it and you get a war machine, you get an SMR, and you get a ray gun. Now, when you're playing a game of zombies, I mean, at first you're going to be like, that sucks. I got a war machine. I got a SMR. But then you get a ray gun. And really, what are you going to focus on? What are you going to use? You can use the ray gun because it's the good thing. It's the positive thing. Now, I mean, yeah, it sucks that you got a war machine, but like, whatever, it happens. Life isn't all good. And at the end of the day, something good happened. So you can choose to focus on that. Now, that's not really the same idea as the perception versus sensation, because that idea is more like this happened, how do you perceive it? But this kind of analogy for like a good thing happened, a bad thing happened. What do you want to focus on? That's another thing I kind of want to talk about. Like, people in life tend to focus on the negative things. I can even in my videos, I'll get 1,000, I'll get 100 like nice job, Patrick's. I'll get 10,000 just views, just people who just watched my video and enjoyed it. But if I get 10 comments, people saying like, I disagree with your opinion, you're a dick, those stand out to me more. Now, I've pretty hard skinned at this point. I really don't care what people, complain. You should just block them. I just don't have any time for your bullshit, honestly. But it still stands out to me more than when someone says, hey, Patrick, you did a nice job. Nice video. Thanks, Patrick. And it's shitty. We tend to look at the negative things because I guess maybe we want to get rid of them. We want to solve them. But either way, it's what happens, right? We tend to look at that. But yeah, like excuse me, I'm sick. As always, I know I'm always sick. But it's just basically you have the choice to look at what you get to focus on what's happened in your life. You get to focus on I got a ray gun or I got a war machine, right? And you also get the choice of what do you want to use? Do you want to use the war machine? Do you want to use the ray gun? Obviously, you want to be around the positive people. You've met negative people. You've met good people. You have that choice in life. And it all comes back to just having a positive outlook. It is such a small thing, but when you look at the world in a good way, you focus on the good things. You don't even see the bullshit. Like, life is a game. Look at life as a game. People who are old, when they get older, they say, yeah, you know what? I never looked at it when I was younger, but life truly is a game. Now, you only have one shot through it. And think about it this way. Do you really want to go through your game focusing on the things that make you unhappy? Like, that's really the goal of this game, is just to enjoy it, right? It's gonna end. We don't know what's gonna happen afterwards. So what do you want to focus on? Like, is it really worth your time focusing on that shitty driver who almost rear-ended you? Is it really worth getting mad at that person who honestly just had a bad upbringing and it just kind of made them into a hard, not really likable person? Is it really worth focusing on that? Or do you want to focus on those amazing people that you meet in life that just make you happy? They're just being around them is just like, yes, you're just such an awesome, great human being. I like your presence. It's a choice. It's a game, right? It's a game, and you get to choose. You really get to choose how you look at life, whether you look at it positively or negatively. But if you ask me, I don't see the point in looking at anything negatively. Just wasting my time. I'm busy trying to enjoy it, and I'm not going to focus on shitty things. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the piece of string. So there's a comedian out there by the name of Duncan Trussell. I've mentioned him a couple times on the actual podcast, but basically Duncan Trussell is he's kind of like a hippie, I'll say. Like, he's a firm believer in the use of psychedelics and stuff. And basically he was telling the story about this acid trip. Now, I'm not really here to talk about drugs or not. Whether you think some drugs or other drugs are good or bad, that's up to you to talk. But this was a positive experience for him, so I think this is worth telling. So basically, he had taken acid, I think, for his first time at a Grateful Dead concert, and he'd taken like way too much. And basically, he was so high, he was so tripped out, he got like a piece of string caught in his throat, and he couldn't get it out for the life of him. And being in his altered state, he's like, I'm dying. He really thought he was dying. So he was kind of going through his life, just worried. And it was taking away from his whole experience because he thought that he was dying. So basically, long story short is he kind of had like an out of body experience and just like viewed himself, and he's like, oh, look at that kid down there. He's dying on a piece of string. Poor him. And then anyways, as it goes on, he ends up, like coming back to himself, and he coughs up this piece of string. And the way he looked at it really stood out to me because he said, like it's not even really the point of the story. The point is like, don't sweat the small things like a string in your throat. But just his attitude towards that is what really stood out to me, and I thought was really, really interesting. So kind of like what he thought was, I'm dying, right? He really truly believed that he was dying. But his outlook on it afterwards was like, look, this, along with every other little thing in life, like failing a test or, breaking up with your girlfriend, is really just a piece of string in your throat. You think it's a huge deal, you think you're dying, and then you cough it up, and it wasn't a big deal at all. It was silly. Why would you worry about a piece of string caught in your throat? You're clearly not dying. It's not gonna get you. And that's kind of what the bad things in life are, right? So what a guy didn't say hi to you when you're walking down the hallway? So what you failed your test? At the end of the day, in 20 years, is it really going to still be bothering you? Probably not. So, just look at everything as a piece of string in your throat. It's bothering you now, but in a week's time, a month's time, maybe a year's time, if it's really significant, you're going to look back and laugh on it, guys. So positivity, negativity, the choice is yours. In 30 years, what are you going to wish you focused on?